Today I'm going to show how I knitted this sweater vest, so if you'd like to see how I did that, just keep on watching. So first here is the yarn that I used. And I used a circular needle that is 5mm thick. So now we're just going to start with casting on my stitches. And I do that by just taking out some thread. So I have some thread from the bundle and also some thread connected to the yarn bundle. And then I make a knot. And then I can start casting on my stitches. And this is just how I cast on stitches. If you have learned in some other way, you could just go ahead and do that. And first we're going to cast on stitches for the front piece. And for the front piece we're going to need 96 stitches. So go ahead and make 96 stitches. So now I've done with casting on my stitches, and we're not going to be knitting this round, we're just going to be knitting it back and forth. So here you can see the tail. So now here for the first row, we're just going to knit a rib edge. So we're going to knit 2 purl stitches, as I'm doing here. And then we're going to do 2 knit stitches, as you can see me doing here. And then you just want to repeat this sequence all the way to the end. Just gonna show you a couple times. That was purl, and then we do knit. Just want to keep doing the sequence until the end of this row. And this is what it's going to look like. So now here I'm just going to show how you're going to make the edges. So you're just going to knit the last one as a knit stitch. And then I'm not going to knit the last stitch, I'm just going to grab it as I just showed you. And then here my thread is at the next stitch, as you can see. And then I'm going to knit the first stitch as a purl stitch. And I'm going to do that on every first and last stitch, because that makes a cleaner edge. And now you just want to follow the pattern, so you do purl stitches above purl stitches and knit stitches above knit stitches. And you want to do that until your work is about 4.5 centimeters long. So here I'm just going to show how to do the edge stitch one more time. So you're not going to knit it, I'm just going to grab it. And then when I begin my next row, I'm going to knit it as a purl stitch. Just going to do that on every end of the row. I'm going to knit the last stitch. And then for the new row, just going to knit it as a purl stitch. So just continue this pattern until it's 4.5 centimeters long. So now here I have marked my 14 middle stitches just with white thread, because we're going to do a braid or a cable there. And we're also going to make some new stitches on the edges, and the pattern is going to change a little bit. So I start with making my edge stitch, and then I grab the yarn around it, my needle, and I just knit the next stitch. And then you can see that little loop right here, that is going to be our new stitch. And then we just do rib by just doing 1 purl and 1 knit. So you can see the sequence is changing a little bit. Like this is what it looks like. So I'm just going to do 1 purl and 1 knit stitch until I get to my 14 middle stitches, which I've marked with white thread. So I've marked my 14 middle stitches, and when we get to there, I'm going to knit 1 purl and 12 knit stitches, and then 1 purl again. So the 12 in the middle is going to be knit stitches, which is going to be a cable. So now we're just gonna make 1 purl and 1 knit stitch until we get to the end. So now here we're going to make a new stitch again. So you're just gonna wrap the yarn around the needle like this, and then just grab the last stitch, because we never knit the last stitch. So now I'm going to show you how to knit your new stitches. So first we do the first one as a purl stitch as always, and then this one is going to be a knit stitch. So you can see here how I'm grabbing it and wrapping the yarn around to pull it through, just like that. So it's actually going to be a purl stitch. Sorry if I said it was a knit stitch, it's a bit difficult to see. So now I'm just gonna make purl stitches above purl stitches and knit stitches above knit stitches, and we're going to make a new stitch in each round. No, sorry, I'm gonna make a new stitch in every other round on each end, in a total of 4 times. So now here I just follow the pattern. I did knit above knit and purl above purl. So here I have my new stitch again. I'm just showing you here how to knit it. Just like that. So now we have 2 new stitches. So now here for the next round, I'm just going to show you how to make a new stitch again. So we just grab on the thread and go in and knit the next stitch. And the next stitch is a new one we just made. Just like it. So you have this little loop. And I'm just going to follow the pattern, do knit above knit and purl above purl, all the way to the end, and then you're going to make another new stitch. So now here we have done a couple of rows. So now we can turn our middle cable the first time. So we do that by taking the first 3 stitches and putting on a helping needle, and we are going to hold them behind my work. And then I knit the next 3 stitches. And then I put my 3 stitches back on my knitting needle. And I knit them as knit stitches. And then I take my needle, helping needle again, and take the next 3 stitches, and I'm gonna hold them in front of the work this time, and knit the next 3 stitches, put the stitches back on, and then I can knit them as knit stitches. Just like that. So this is how we're going to be doing the cable. So here, I'm just going to show you how you're going to knit it on the back side. So on the back side, of course, it is just purl stitches instead of knit stitches. So you're just going to knit them in the order they are in. It can be a little bit difficult after the row after you just turn them, because it can be a little bit tight. And we're going to turn the braid every 7th round. So you're going to make 7 rounds, and then you're going to make the cables again. So we're just going to turn it as I showed you, the exact same way. So this is what it looks like. So I'm just going to finish this round. So now here I've also done the back side. So on the back side I have 94 stitches as I chained up, and I knit them as rib edges with 2 purl and 2 knit stitches for about 4.5 centimeter, and then I do 1 knit and 1 purl stitch for about 11 to 12 rows, where I make new stitches in every other row, like I showed you with the front piece. And I do that in a total of 5 times. So we have 10 new stitches on the back piece, and we have 8 new stitches on the front piece when that is done. So when you have go ahead and made both the back piece and the front piece, it's going to look like this. And then we can go ahead and knit them together, so we have a round circle we can knit, and that's going to be, so this is the bottom of our vest. So now we're going to connect it. So you can see these corners are going to meet, and those corners are going to meet. So here I just happen to be at the end on my round on my front piece. I've done my new stitches for every other row 4 times. So it doesn't really matter where you connect it, which end you connect it to the back piece, because it's the same pattern. So here I'm just going to put on my last stitch, which I have not knitted, and then you can see here we're going to have 1 knit stitch. So I'm going to knit 2 stitches together to connect the 2 pieces, and then I'm just going to knit the sequin on the back side, so a purl stitch and a knit stitch and a purl stitch and a knit stitch, and so on all the way to the end. And then I meet you back when I get to the end, so you can see here they are connected. So this way we are going to have a slit on our vest. But go ahead and knit to the end of the back piece, and then we're going to connect it to the other end of the front piece. So here I am just going to knit 1 more stitch, and I'm not going to knit the last stitch. Last stitch I'm just going to put over to my knitting needle, and then these 2 stitches are going to be knitted together as a knit stitch to connect the 2 pieces, and then we're just going to knit the sequin of the front piece, and I'm just going to put a white thread in here just so I know where my rounds start. So just gonna do one knit and one purl stitch all the way till I get to the middle, because then there is 12 knit stitches. So I'm just gonna follow the sequence of the front piece. So now here you can see it's connected. Now we can just knit it round. This is what it looks like. You can see the braid a little more clear now when we've done a couple of rows. Now I'm just gonna knit round and round and round. So now I've done 7 rows after we turned the cable the first time. So now I'm just gonna show you again how to turn it. So first we take 3 stitches and we hold them behind our work. And then we can put them back on our knitting needle, so we can knit them as knit stitches. And then we take the next 3 stitches and we put them in front of our work. And we put the stitches back so we can knit them. Just like that. So that's how we're going to turn the braid. Every 7th row. So now you're going to make 7 rows and then you're going to turn it again. See what it looks like here in the gathering. So now I'm going to go ahead and knit until the entire piece is about 32 centimeters long on the front side. The back side is going to be a bit longer. And then we're going to close some stitches for the armhole. And we're going to close 7 stitches on each side over the slits. So just mark those 2 so I know where I'm going to close. So here, 4 stitches before my marking, I'm going to just normally knit the first 2 stitches and then I pull it over like that. And then I just go ahead and do that 7 times. Just like that. So now we're just going to knit all the way to the other side by just following the sequence. Just do the pattern. Just knit all the way to here. Just going to show you again. So we're going to close 7 stitches and we start 4 stitches before our marking, which is the stitch right above the slit. Just like that. So now we have closed 7 stitches over each slit. Now just go ahead and knit over to the first one, and I've done that here. So now we're going to knit the back side, and we're going to finish knitting the back side before we can continue knitting on the front side. So first here, I'm just going to make a row where I just knit all of my stitches. Just go ahead and knit all of the stitches on the first row on the back side. So now here I finished with the first row, and for the next row we're going to close 2 stitches on each side. So you're just gonna do that by knitting 2 and 2 together. So the first one I close as a knit stitch, and the next I also close as a knit stitch. So now I'm just gonna follow the pattern all the way to the end until you have 4 stitches left, and then you're going to close them by knitting 2 and 2 together. And I'm gonna show you how to do that when we get there. So here, also just knitting 2 and 2 together by just knitting them as a knit stitch. And now we're going to just knit 2 rows where we just knit all the stitches. So we do no decreases. So just go ahead and make 2 rows where you knit all the stitches. And then when you have knitted 2 stitches, when you have knitted 2 rows with no decreases, you're going to make a row where you do 2 decreases like I just showed you. And then you knit 3 rows with no decreases, and when you've done that, you go ahead and close in the next row. After the 3 rows with no decreases, you're going to close 4 stitches on each side. And when you've done that, you're done with the decreases. So now we're going to knit just back and forth until the back piece is about 35 centimeters from the armhole. So you go ahead and do that. So here I've almost done with my back piece. I've just marked here and here my 35 middle stitches, and those are going to be the neck hole. So I'm just going to knit in towards them, and the entire back piece is about 65 centimeters long by now. So now here I'm with my middle stitches, and I'm just gonna knit the first 2, and then I'm going to close all of the 35 middle stitches. I'm just gonna do that the same way as I've shown you to close stitches earlier. So just go ahead and close all of these stitches, and then just knit the last side here, which is going to be the shoulder. So when you've done that, it looks like this. So now I'm going to show you how to knit the shoulder. So for the first row, you're just going to knit all the stitches, and when there's 2 stitches left, you're going to knit those 2 together. And now here, for the next row, just going to knit all the stitches. Just like that. And the next row, we're going to knit the stitches until there's 2 stitches left, and then you're going to knit those 2 together. Just like that. And the next row, just going to knit all of the stitches. And now here, we're just going to close all of the stitches. So now we want to also make the shoulder on the other side. And when you've done that, the back piece is done. So that is the first shoulder done. This is what it looks like. Just we can go ahead and do it on the other side as well. Now we're going to make the front piece. And we're going to make the same decreases, the same sequence as we did on the back side. So I'm not going to show that, I'm just going to write it on the screen. And you want to remember to do the middle cable for every 7th row while you do your decreases on the side. And when you're done with your decreases on the side, as I am here, then you're also going to knit for about 4 centimeters, and then I'm just marked in my middle, because we're going to do some decreases in the middle now. So now here I've just marked my middle stitch, and I'm going to close the 2 stitches before it, like this. And I'm also going to do it with the next 2 after it, like this. So now we've closed 2 stitches, and there's going to be a little space where the white thread is. So now I'm just going to knit all the way to the end, just like this. So now I'm going to knit half of the front piece first, upwards, and then we can knit the other side. So now I've just done a couple of rows, and I'm just going to knit into where the parting are. And here I've just turned my cable, even though I didn't have so many stitches left, as you can see. But I'm just gonna knit into here, and now you can see I have 4 stitches left, and I'm gonna knit 2 and 2 together, so I close 2 stitches, just like that. So this is what it's looked like. So now we're going to knit about 2 centimeters, and then you're going to do a decrease again with 2 stitches, close 2 stitches. And you just want to repeat that until it looks something like this. So when your shoulder is about the size of the backside, you're not going to do any more increases. Oh, sorry, you're not going to do any more decreases. Just going to knit a couple of rows, just knitting the stitches. So now here I've also made the other side of the front piece, and I've just sewn the 2 shoulders together like this. So now we're going to do the rib edges, and I'm just going to cast on my stitches with a little help from a crochet hook. So I'm just going to pull up some stitches. Just gonna keep on casting on stitches, and here in the middle, if I just pull up here, it will make a gap. So I go ahead and go through 2 loops and pull the thread through so it doesn't make a gap. And when you've done this, you can just continue casting on stitches, grabbing the yarn and pulling it through all the way round. So now here we're going to start knitting, and we're going to do 2 knit stitches and 2 purl stitches, and you just want to do that for the entire round. In the middle we're going to do something different, where you just go ahead and do 2 knit and 2 purl stitches until you get to the front middle. So here we are. This right here is the middle stitch. It is right in the center. So now what we're going to do is the stitch before the middle stitch. So now here what we're going to do is these 2 stitches, we're going to grab them as we were going to knit them together. I'm not going to knit them, just going to grab them. And then the next stitch I'm going to knit, like I just showed you. And then I'm going to take the middle stitch and pull it over, just like this. I know it's a bit difficult to see. I'm going to show you some couple of times. And when you've done that, you're just going to continue the sequence with 2 knit stitches and 2 purl stitches all the way around until you get to the front middle again. I'm just going to show you after a couple of rows what it looks like. So here I've just done a couple of rows, and you can kind of see it creates a really beautiful line in the middle. So what you do is you grab those 2 stitches as you were going to knit them together. Just grabbing them, and then you knit the next stitch as a knit stitch. And then you're just going to pull the 2 stitches over the stitch you just knitted. So you're closing 2 stitches on each row, but you're creating this really beautiful gathering. You just go ahead and knit this until it is as long as you want it to be. I did mine for about 8 rounds, but that's totally up to you how wide you want it to be. And then you also want to do it on the armholes. Just do the exact same by casting on the stitches, and you're just gonna knit rib on the armholes, just with 2 purls and 2 knit stitches. And when you've done that, you're just going to close the stitches like I've showed you earlier. And when you've done that,